Everybody.
What do we do?
Welcome to the week of February the 16th, 2015. You've come to the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley. Not that that's where we all, as you look, I think, from left to right on your screen, you'll see Lisa Highfield. Lisa, wave to the camera there, right, who is in Silicon Valley, in Pleasanton. And then you'll see, I think, Chris Cochrane in Ontario and in Canada, who's going to be presenting tonight. And you'll see Alan Thompson, who's lots of snow. That's part of what you get for having like nothing but good health care out there, I think.
Yeah.
And then Alan Thompson, who is in Bakersfield. Wave the camera there, Alan. Also, our treasurer for the eClub. I am currently in a hotel in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is a lot colder than the Silicon Valley, but all good. So if you have properly seen the video that Chris put together about all of the different things that he is involved with in terms of his professional work, his work with Rotary over time, then you have a good sense of the possibilities that may be a part of what we're about to do. So with that, I am going to let Chris introduce himself a bit and tell a little bit about what matters to him, and we will get the show on the road. So Chris, the podium is yours.
Well, thank you, Rushton. I do appreciate it. Let me say, first of all, I'm a Canadian, and a Canadian can be defined as an American with no guns, but great health care. Okay, that's what we are up here. Besides freezing to death, I'm under 4 feet of snow outside my door, and you guys are sitting basking in the sun. We'll get into the point. Those of you that watched I put the video up because I wanted to give you an idea of what can be done with video, how we can make emotions, how we can change things. My passion is using video to make a difference. And we can do that by we can create absolutely anything using video. Now, my background to do that, I'll give you a very quick synopsis. I'm what's called a cinematographer. Now, those of you close to Hollywood may understand what that means. And when I first introduced it to the very first Rotary Club that I was in, I got the blank. Huh? What's a cinematographer? Is that a guy who goes and watches movies all day? No. Cinematographer is a person who actually creates movies. Think of it as a fancy videographer, high-end videographer. Now, my background personally is I started out in the television business with City TV in Toronto back in 1972, way back when, middle of the last century. I started not as a mere teenager, a mere lad. Today I'm only 29, so we put a lot in. But part of the City TV, and I was just a gopher here, gopher there, learned the business, worked my way up to an actual producer and on-air personality, to the point that by the mid-1970s, I was working at the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, the CBC, working on their national newsroom. And after getting a fill of the big boys, as they call it, CBC, I decided I never, ever wanted to be near a national newsroom again in my life. It was utter chaos and unbelievable stress. So I decided to start my own company. Started my own company, which I still run to this very day. And would you believe my very first customer was the CBC, providing them with various programs and other things. Because I was with the CBC and had a background in television news and broadcasting, in 1980, they recommended that I become a liaison for the CBC to a little outfit called CNN that was just starting up. And thanks to that, I met Ted Turner and still work with Ted to this very day. In fact, I was there the day they actually launched and actually helped him to launch. And after launch, Ted Turner comes up and he says, "Well, we like you. Are you staying? Yes or no?" And I was floored. I said, "What do you mean? Am I staying? I'm here to liaise. I run my own company." And so he goes, "Yeah, we want to hire you." So to this very day, I still have a contract with CNN thanks to Ted Turner. That's how I got involved with Rotary, by the way. First time I ever heard the word Rotary was around 1985, working with Mr. Turner on a couple of projects, and he said, "What are you doing for lunch?" And I said, "Why? What do you want to do?" He says, come to me to a meeting." We ended up going to the Rotary Club of Atlanta, and he was the guest speaker and also a member, and he ended up volunteering myself and a number of other people to help out with various projects for the Rotary Club of Atlanta. And that was the first introduction to Rotary and what it is. I had no idea what it is. It's a bunch of guys get together and have lunch. And after volunteering on a couple of projects, or shall we say forced to volunteer on a couple of projects, well, got to learn what Rotary was and so forth. Didn't really get involved with Rotary much, just too busy in my own business, doing video, just like you see. We'll make a long story short, fast forward to about the year 2000. And I'm sitting in Toronto, where I was born and raised, and everything's going fine, having a good life, happy life, everything's wonderful. My wife comes over to me and says, oh dear. Her mother, who was about 85 at the time, is now widowed, alone, sick. I want to move closer back to Mom. And I go, great. Here's a Visa card. Go ahead, go see your mom anytime you want. She goes, no, 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 no. You don't understand. I want to move closer. So if any of you are married, you know the power of your wife. You know, to have a happy life, you need a happy wife. So she did a sales job on me, and we moved to a little town 3 hours outside of Toronto, halfway between Toronto and Montreal, where I live today. Why? So my wife can be closer to her mother. Frankly, it's one of the best things I've ever done. I like small town life. It sure beats the big city. I have everything I could ever possibly need, and it puts me in a position that works out really well. And that's funny. That's where Rotary seems to intersect again. When I moved to this town, I remember looking out the front window after the moving truck goes away and turning to my wife and saying, you know, I know absolutely no one in this town. No one. Not a soul. The guy who sold us the house, passing acquaintance, but that's it. Nobody. No neighbors, no friends, nothing. And if you know anything about small towns, they can be very cliquey and sometimes very hard to break into. So I thought, well, how am I actually going to be able to get to know people and get into this particular community? Well, yeah, it turns out you have to volunteer. So I thought, well, I'd like to make it with volunteer with some of the business guys in town. I might be a better audience. So I went over and found a local Rotary club. And this is a typical Terra club, unfortunately. Got there, and it was a noon-hour meeting. I had sourced it out, and I walked up to the front desk where you sign in and say, hi, do you mind if I, come to your meeting? I'm thinking of joining. And the guy at the door was flabbergasted. You want to join our club? I go, well, I don't know, but I want to check out Rotary and see what it's all about and so on. He goes, who's your sponsor? I had no sponsor. I said, no one. Okay. He nails me, get this, 30, that's right, $30 for a cheesy lunch. I get placed into the meeting. There's about 60 people in this club. Most of them are there. And I get placed at a table where there's 8 people at a table. I'm number 8. The other 7 guys were all guys 85 plus, every one of them on oxygen. You can imagine, sitting there. And they're going through their masks. Oh, gonna join, huh? Gonna join? I thought, no way. If I join, I'm the fresh meat, and I'm gonna end up doing all the work and being Mr. Rotary in this town. So I thought to myself, oh, forget it. You know, I'll do something else. I'll go somewhere else. So I'm walking out. All of a sudden, I hear, hey, 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 hey. And I turn around. This big, tall guy's running up to me. Turns out his name is Rennie. And he says, hey, hey. I was in the meeting too. There's a group of us about our age. We're thinking of forming another club, you know, because this one's just getting a bit too ripe, and we want to meet at a different time anyways. Would you be interested in that? I said, sure, love to. So we ended up forming a Rotary club here called the Rotary Club of the Thousand Islands, which is doing very, very well today. It's a typical Terra club. Raises a lot of money, does a lot of good in the community. Thanks to that particular club and my background, I was tapped to be the district chair of PR for District 7040, which includes an area from Montreal, Quebec, over to Ottawa, Ontario, down to Syracuse, New York, and down as far about 50 miles south of me here to Kingston, Ontario. A huge demographic with about 8,000 Rotarians, 67 clubs. Our district also had the honor, and I do say honor, of hosting the 210 Montreal Rotary International Convention held in the city of Montreal, for which I was the chair of PR and responsible for media for that particular situation. So that's my background in Rotary. I chose in 2011 to change to an eClub simply because going to Terra meetings became almost impossible. Our meeting was at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday morning. I was never able to be there. My attendance was down to about 15% of actual attendance. The rest were makeups anywhere and everywhere. So when I heard of an eClub, I decided I'll go to the eClub of the Southwest USA. That's the one Rushton, Alan Thompson, a couple of us are from, and found that to be just an excellent experience. And when Rushton approached saying, hey, we're looking at forming an eClub that's going to do things even better, I jumped at the opportunity to come on board. Now, rather than just talk about myself, I hate just doing that. I know some of you may want to know about that stuff. I'd like to use some of this time to help us figure out exactly what is going to work in our club in terms of images, sounds, video, and so on. I'm a firm believer that if we can get the right images and the right information out there, the people will come. To that end, our eClub is very heavily involved in what I call a video fundraiser. I'm actually creating it right now. It's 2 short videos that you'll see up probably early April. And those will be sponsored, and every time we watch them, we're going to get money for our club. So I think that's going to be something that's going to really help us. Alan Thompson, our treasurer, and I are now national advisors to the Rose Parade, the Rotary Rose Parade Float Committee. We were elected yesterday online, which means we'll be our club's representative to the annual Tournament of Roses Rose Parade in Pasadena every year. So that's another something else we can be involved in. But what I really want to focus on and get back to, and I keep getting away from this, is what images are going to work, what's going to really help us make our club visible and probably the best e-club in the world. You know, that's really the feedback that I want so we can drive everything we need to that particular end. So that's really what I wanted to say about myself. I'd like to open it up to questions or concerns or feedback or whatever anyone wants to send in. So, feedback, please.
All right, good stuff, and all the more fun because you know, when we think about what digital media can do, it's really our chance, I think, to reach out and make some great things happen. I think, you know, our example from last week's meeting when we had Benjamin and David on from Rotary First Harvest is a good example. I mean, how did we connect with them? We connected with them by showing a video and then letting them know we were showing the video, and then suddenly, like, they're joining us to talk about their work. So the power of video is something that I think you're going to find every member of this club either understands or is close enough to understanding to, you know, kind of get that good sense. So let's start with kind of questions that you may have. Alan, Lisa, if you got questions. I mean, I've got kind of a bundle of them. I'll toss one in there, and then we'll go and get you all in there as well. So first off, Chris, when you think about the shift, and one quick correction, by the way, I think when I said, hey, we're going to be this other club together, the idea was we're going to focus more on video, which I think you interpreted as we're going to do it even better, which kind of makes sense to me. You know, so I'll stand by your comment. But when we think about the power of video, tell us a little bit more about the experience you had with the video efforts around the international convention in 2010. That's actually the only international convention I've ever been to. So I'd be interested to hear, you know, like another story related to that.
Well, okay, the international convention in 2010 is, of course, Rotary International's convention, and they're heavily involved. Rotary, of course, runs a production company, Rotary International Productions, out of Chicago, and those people in there are very, very good. They create some very, very good video. They take care of documenting the actual convention itself and placing videos out later of the speakers, of various plenary sessions, and so on. Biggest challenge we had in promoting here is in the province of Quebec, where Montreal is, the word Rotary is virtually unknown. You say Rotary, they think it's an engine. Oh, you mean that thing that's in the mast of the Rotary engine? Or, you know, they don't think of the service club because there's a whole history where Rotary was in the province of Quebec, but through some very big faux pas on the part of Rotary, it was banned from the province of Quebec. Not banned in the legal sense, but banned in the sense you must understand the province of Quebec is run by the churches, specifically the Catholic Church. Even to this day, they have a massive hold on people in the province of Quebec. You think, well, is the church that effective today? Yeah, it is. And at one point, Rotary International, this is probably in the late 50s, early 60s, managed to cheese off the bishop who's responsible, actually the cardinal who's responsible for the province of Quebec. So he came into the pulpit and he said, anyone who's a member of Rotary will be excommunicated. He stood up in the churches and sent this out. So people left in droves. It went from multiple thousands to like a handful of people who really didn't care anyways about the religious end of it, and said, that's it. It never really grew again. There was a few clubs, there was a few francophone clubs, and the idea behind having the convention in Montreal was to reintroduce Rotary and to do it right. And to do that, we had to appeal in 2 languages. English, of course, because it's the universal language, the main language of Canada, but French, which is also a second language, the official second language, and it's, by the way, the only official language of the province of Quebec. You must understand its position in my country. It's actually a nation within a nation. It has its own laws, its own legal system, its own judicial system, and its law says that French is the only legal language in the province. So if somebody, you want to talk, they'll talk to you in English only out of courtesy. If you walk in with an American dollar, they'll talk to you in English because they want your American dollar. But if you go to places and they don't know who you are, what you are, you start talking English, they'll ignore you. The only way you get taught there is French. And I don't speak French, by the way, at least not well enough to converse with somebody in the province of Quebec. Why? Because I don't use it every day. I speak English. You know, I converse with the United States. I converse in English with people around here. So our biggest challenge there was to use video to get across the message. So we did a couple of things. We had Celine Dion, who many of you have heard, who was a French-Canadian, born and raised in the province of Quebec. She was actually born in a small town outside the Quebec City, the capital in the province of Quebec, mainly out of Montreal. We all know her for that great song she did with James Cameron, Titanic, etc. Everyone knows the name. So I approached Celine Dion, and we had her do a couple of videos saying what a great thing Rotary is, etc., etc. Have her go on the media saying it's all in French, by the way, all in the French media. Going how fantastic it is, how great. We had her lined up to actually sing at the convention, but it fell through at the last minute due to some detail work that, frankly, RI fell down on. But the point is, we got the videos done, and we had her front and center in a news conference where she gave $1 million to the Rotary Foundation, en français. And what's happened, because she was on and other people, like here we had some French-Canadian, there's a lot of local French-Canadian personalities that there everyone recognizes. You wouldn't, I wouldn't know them from Adam. We did the same thing with them. I'm coming on and saying, great, Rotary is fantastic. Rotary is a wonderful organization. Yes, I know it's English, but so what? It's a great organization. And that endorsement seemed to crack the egg. Now the French-Canadian contingent in the province of Quebec is growing like wildfire. To the point where the next district governor coming in, a good friend of mine in that particular area, is a French-Canadian. And he says, yeah, since the convention, we've gone from about 1,000 Rotarians total in a province where there's 8 million people to a little over 10,000 Rotarians. And he figures by 3 or 4 years from now, there should be 20 to 25,000 Rotarians in the province of Quebec if this current growth keeps going. And we did that all by using the power of video. And what's in the video? Well, something people want to see. Okay, something they believe, something that gives them credibility. We brought them a message that they wanted. So that's, that was the big story why we had the. If you were there in English and they said, "Oh, it's a convention, it's great, okay." So we had a few things for us to do. We can go down the river and do this. We can go watch the Cirque du Soleil, twirl a few things, and we can, go eat in the great restaurants and enjoy the wonderful atmosphere, etc., etc. But if you were a French Canadian going there, the experience, they tell me, was totally different. And the French Canadians who did come to the convention, and the smart thing, I'll give RI this, they invited the Premier of Quebec, the Mayor of Montreal, okay, the Prime Minister of Canada, and several other dignitaries to come through. The Prime Minister said no, but the Premier of Quebec came through. He was extremely impressed, the point where he is now a Rotarian. And it's, I think, that kind of effort, all because some efforts were made by Rotary International, but more they're crediting the video campaign that we created and put throughout the province of Quebec with doing that. You're having a major personality coming on saying, this is great, folks, you got to look at it. I don't care what you think, take a look at it, it's wonderful. People are doing that. So I hope that answers your question.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good to understand the background of how different people began to get a sense of what Rotary is, because as soon as someone says, "Oh, well, it's about this."
Yeah, I mean, Rotary's a bunch of old guys.
So let's keep going with questions. Yeah. So Lisa comment was the one that I thought was kind of fun. So, Lisa, do you have a question for Chris?
I'm just taking it all in. I'm just listening to the stories and building my background knowledge of Rotary. I love your stories. That was excellent. I love video too, so I
Yeah,
can't wait.
my challenge in video, see where I'm coming from in this point of view is because I have a production studio, we can produce anything. I've just got to put it in the pipeline. And here we have the perfect vehicle, online, video-based club to disseminate the message to anyone. We can do everything from getting high-profile speakers, which we will have a bunch over the next year or so, but also with the ability to disseminate messages. We can disseminate them through social media. We can disseminate them through traditional means. We can get the message out there anyway. I think what I'm really saying is, what should our goal be for video? What should we be doing with it? I personally think we should be raising massive awareness and using video to raise money for us to do things with. We're a brand new club. We have virtually zero in the bank at this point. This time next year, hopefully we can have a little more in the bank. Right, Alan?
Well, sure. But Chris, what are the initial videos going to look like? What do you imagine them to be?
Okay, let me give you a bit of a background. I'm looking at two 13-second videos. I'm getting feedback here. It's hard to hear. But anyways, two 13-second videos. Why 13 seconds? Because they can go on Instagram, and I'm a firm believer that the mind can only absorb what the rear end can endure. And if we want something to go viral, you want it to be quick, you want to appeal to kids, you want to appeal to everybody. People look at it and go, wow, isn't that nifty? And by osmosis of watching enough times, the message maybe sinks in. The visual is the message, in this case, as Marshall McLuhan said, who, by the way, great Canadian out of Toronto. Now, what are they going to be? I imagine two of them. From the feedback I asked, Russian sent out a questionnaire saying, what really is our club? Can we describe it in 3 words or less? And the overall from that was our club. We're online, we're electronic, obviously, okay? But we share stories, is what we do. I thought, okay, there's a basis for a couple of videos. How do we show online? Well, first one, and this is all done in 13 seconds, okay? First one opens up, there's a keyboard maybe with some fingers on it. Then we see the light on a computer. Then you see the keyboard and you see the screen. Maybe you see a hangout. And probably another image in there, and then we put up, eClub.org, the quick URL that one of us has, our URL address. Why? It tells you that we're different, we're online, and we're electronic. The idea being people that if the images are done right, people go, gee, what is that? And they'll click on the link and maybe come to our club. The next one, a 13-second video, we have to show, well, we share stories. So we open up on a book, an old type library, dusty type library, an old book about yay thick, those things like that with the huge cover on them, and it looks like it's made out of solid gold. And on the words, the camera's coming in, and you see the words service above self. And a person comes in, opens up the book like this. You open it up, it's flat. As they open it up, the rotary wheel comes up, blows, does a few things, etc. Okay, but a really nifty effect on the rotary wheel coming up. And then we super above that our URL, eClub.org or eClubSV.org or whatever short URL we can come up with that works for our club. Again, a teaser, a visual teaser. People say, wow, and I want kids in particular, it's going to take a while, that's why April, I want the effect on the wheel to be so wow. When people look at it, they go, oh, wow, right? And then we put that on Facebook, you put that on Instagram, you start going other social media. I want kids to look at it and go, wow, you got to see this. And next thing you know, we'll have, 5, 6, 700,000 views on the thing. Each one of the videos will be sponsored. We'll probably get half a cent to a cent total in sponsorship per. So if we can drive, say, 1 million views, that works out to what? $10,000 for our club? If we can do 10 million views, it works out to do the math. And I call it the painless fundraiser. Now, why do it this way? I don't know about you, but when I was in a small town here in the Terra Club we were in, everybody had their hand in. In a big town, it's just more of the same thing. Everywhere you go, everybody's got their hand in. Give. give to the United Way, give to this, give to that. And they're all great organizations. They all deserve funding, etc. But after a while, especially in a town my size, the pool's limited. There's only so many companies, so many individuals that are willing to give you money. And at some point, people have to say, enough's enough. I mean, you've probably had it too. People come up, give to this, give to that. Yeah. I got to, forget it. Well, why don't we raise money not by asking people to give their money, but just watch a quick video. Spend 13 seconds, we give money. You can watch a video, you can pay. I call it the painless. How can I help? Watch the video. Share it with everybody you know. Have them share it with everybody. So every time the thing's watched, we not only get awareness of our club, we actually get paid. And they say, does this work? Yeah, it's worked a couple of times. Did one for McGill University, which I can send people a link. I can send you the link and you can watch it, which was a dance video, a bit long, but it raised $1 million in 30 days for their cancer center. Why? Because we had a sponsor who was willing to put up X amount per view. He said, when you get to about 450,000 views, I'll give you $1 million. So we did 450,000 views in 30 days. And the thing was covered in the media. Everyone loved it, et cetera, et cetera. That's one. Next one, say, okay, can we do it here? In my little town where I live in, it's called Brockville, Ontario. Look it up. It's actually on a map. It's halfway between Montreal and Toronto on the St. Lawrence River and the Thousand Islands, the best place in the world to live. Not the best temperature in February, but the best place in the world to live. And guess what? Our little town here, we have something called Rotary Park. It was a very dilapidated park about 3 years ago now, with a cheesy old Rotary sign on it, with the letters kind of half scratched off and graffiti and everything on it. And so the club I was in said, it's got our name on it. Maybe we ought to buy a new sign. So one of the guys said, well, buy a new sign, that's great. It's still a new sign in front of a park that looks like hell. We should fix up the park. So that led to a $1.2 million project of adding splash pads, an ice arena, basketball courts, indoor this, indoor that. It's really a hell of a facility right now. Okay, and so 1.2 million. Where are we going to get 1.2 million in my little town, which is 20,000 people? The local golf tournament we raised $30,000, and everyone goes nuts. Yay, 30 grand! And they worked their ass off for 6 months to make this golf tournament happen. How are we going to raise 1.2 million bucks? Said easy. I can give you a quick start. We can raise a couple of $100,000 online. Well, yeah. How do you do that? So I made a quick video. We put it on. We had it sponsored. We raised $560,000 in 42 days. Why? Because I had sponsors here. Why? Because the sponsors were people like Procter & Gamble, 3M. So we're able to get some serious sponsors. We got a couple of dollars a view. Okay. For ours, because we're an unknown club, we're not going to get $1 a view, $2 a view. We'll be 1, 2 cents a view, that kind of thing. But as we get known, as we get better, yeah, up and do it. The point is, it can be done. It works. People say.
Very cool.
They say, why? So go ahead. Sorry.
That's right. So one thing for all of the folks in our club who are new to Rotary, because 16 of our 28 are new Rotarians, right? One of the important things to understand is kind of the relationship among the different pieces of our experience as a club. So, for example, if we're able to get these videos online in the next couple of months, no reason why we wouldn't be able to. But once we have them online,
they'll be mid-April or so when they're online. We're looking at mid-April.
Yeah. So once they're online, coming to our site. When they come to our site, you're going to see our meetings. When they see our meetings and they see the content that we bring to the meetings, that will either help them understand that we're making a difference in the communities, kind of in the Silicon Valley and beyond, or we're not, right? So consequently, the job that we do of having really strong material on our meetings helps people understand the quality of our club, especially for people who are in Rotarians getting to understand that. The further step there is that in the meetings, the idea is to be able to tell what we're doing. So what kinds of service do we do, right? And that's a part of something that our service committee is working on. One of the things I've tossed out is that we'll get our members to help judge associated with my nonprofit. So at no cost to the club, what we do is we get the videos that teenagers have made in different parts of the world telling about nonprofit efforts in their community, what people are doing to help others.
Sure.
And
Why not?
they make videos to tell those stories, right? And so our members will be able to judge and help kind of choose winner. If what we're doing is we're helping young people learn to tell the stories, like Chris was saying, of the people who are making a difference in their community, and as a club, we are making sure that we are giving in an innovative way. So there you go. That's a part of how we work. So we're about a half hour into this. And so, Lisa, Alan, if you've got any final comments, feel free. But Chris, now if you want to wrap it up with just kind of the punch of the message. I want to thank you again for putting the video together that shows the different work you've been doing, for being kind of the enthusiast. And I think that came through very clearly in your program. And with that, I'll let you finish us off.
Well, okay, if you want more video, you can go to my website. I'll do a plug here, cjcochrane.ca. You can see more video. I think the message to take away is that we are a club with power. We can do anything. We can go anywhere. We can make a difference in any situation. We're not limited just to the local guy down the street. We can make a difference everywhere. And I think if everybody starts thinking, hey, how can I make a difference? What can I do? We'll end up being probably the best club that Rotary's ever seen. That's the message.
Nice.
Here.
All of our multiple hears.
Multiple hears.
All of our members who have just watched this as part of the week of February 16th, you know what to do. Under this video, you're going to see an attendance survey. Make sure to fill out the attendance survey and to submit it. And to the bottom as well, telling what your ideas may be. Chris is always pulling in ideas that can be a part of stuff we're doing for PR for the club. So you are very welcome to share them that way. So I want to thank Chris for his presentation. I thank Alan and Lisa for being part of it as well. For anybody who who shares this with their clubs, we are very happy for guests from Rotary clubs around the world to join us in order to very easily make up a missed meeting at their home clubs. We're very much into helping Rotarians stay connected to the business of service that we have all dedicated ourselves to. So with that, I wish everybody a good week and look forward to seeing you next week.
Adios. Au revoir.